Hello everyone and welcome to an introduction to Multicraft. Multicraft is an extremely popular server software used by most server hosting companies to let you control and access the files of your server. Let's get started. As you can see here, I have 5 different servers. One of these is a Bungie server, which is a proxy server and serves as a sort of link between these 4 servers and allows people to easily and quickly connect from one server to another. But you'll be learning about those in another video. Here you will see the start, stop, and restart buttons. These buttons are pretty self-explanatory. It stops, stops, and restarts your server. The name. It doesn't really matter. It just displays the name here in your server list. But normal people can't see it from the outside. I suppose you could call it, for example, factions. But I'm just leaving it as Geometry Pros Bungie. I'm just leaving it as that. So that doesn't really matter, it just names it in the server list. Player slots, again, pretty self-explanatory. It sets how many people can be on your server at any given time. For Bungie, however, for Bungie servers only, it doesn't matter. You could set it to 5, for example, and 100 people could be on, or 1,000, or 2, or 3. This is just visual for Bungie servers. But however, for regular servers, if you're not running it on the Bungie proxy, it won't matter. For the IP and port, this is just the IP and port of your server. If you want people to join through a domain, such as, for example, Minecraft.net, for an example. If you want people to type in Minecraft in the server list and type in Minecraft.net, enter, and go to your server, you will need to put an A record through the IP and port to make it lead to that domain. You will find plenty of tutorials online, and I might even make one in the future for how to do that. Additional ports. This is just how many extra ports your server provider might give you. Unfortunately, I don't have any, but if you have any additional ports, you can connect through those as well. So let's say if I had 2333 as an additional port, I could connect through this IP and put 3333 at the end and still connect to the exact same server. I will probably give a more in-depth video on how to provide A records to lead to the IP and port in the future. If you want to see that, please subscribe and like the video. It would really help a lot. But anyways, the world. The world is just the name of the default world that you want players to spawn in. I just set it to world because it's a default. It doesn't really matter. I could be like this and it would just generate a new world under that name. Randomly generated world under that name and have it set as a default. Now the server jar. Okay, this is where it gets a bit more in depth, as there are a lot of server jars. This isn't even all of them. A lot of server jars that you can choose from in Minecraft servers. These are just some that my server hosting gave me. Unfortunately, they don't give me custom server jars, but a lot of server hosting providers do. And this is just controls the version of Minecraft that's on 1.14, 1.8, 1.15, etc. And you can learn more about these online. And Paper, Spigot, Bungee Cord, Forge, they all are pretty different, and they can affect your server tremendously, so you might want to research a bit more into that. I might also make a video explaining that in the future. If if you press advanced settings, you'll see your memory, which is, for me, I have 2 gigabytes for my Bungee Cord server. And next option, look for jars in. I don't know if you would have this option, just don't touch it because it's some complicated stuff that you don't really want to touch. Most likely you wouldn't have that option, however. Unauthorized kick delay, you shouldn't really touch it either, because unless you know what you're doing, because it can get pretty messy. So if you don't know what you're doing, just don't touch it. Autosave, it autosaves your world, and this announces it, like broadcasts it, where everyone can see it in the server. So if you want it to be saved without it being broadcast to the world, you can just do this. Or if you don't want either, you can just turn them both off. Crash detection, it simply pings your server every couple seconds to make it so that it doesn't go idle and crash. Some people find this annoying, I do, some people don't. There's not a very big chance of your server crashing though, so if you don't like the pings, then you might just want to turn it off. This is just, it doesn't really matter, it's a bunch of Multicraft stuff. No one really uses it, so usually people just leave it on default settings. So yeah, you might just want to leave it in the default settings. Alright, so as you can see, we have many different options here, such as chat, console, players, config files, plugin list, local plugins, FTP file access, setup, backup, commands, schedule, tasks. So to recap, these are just the commands, custom commands that you can use in what I'm about to show you next. Schedule tasks. So these are just schedule tasks that you can make. As you see here, if I press new task, you can press command and you can make the server do these preset commands that you told it to do. So yeah, you can just make, for example, if I press admin say, if I do, I don't know, if I want it store, and I want it every 2 minutes to broadcast BC, because that's a broadcast command. And if I want it to say broadcast store dot geometry craft dot host, because that's my store. So I wanted to broadcast that every 2 minutes to advertise. Yeah, so that's it. You just make it run a scheduled command or another command, but you can make it run a scheduled command every 2 minutes or 1 minute or 5 minutes or an hour. Yeah. Users, I'm not going to show this because it has IPs, but it essentially just shows everyone who's ever logged into your server, their IP, their last login date, and the reason they were last disconnected. Starter parameters, I'm not going to show this either, but basically you can change some stuff in it, such as you can, well, I can't really list everything that you can do in here. You might want to search that up, but you can do stuff such as hide the GUI and stuff like that. I can't really list everything off the top of my head, but you can usually search that up. MySQL database. This allows you to create a MySQL database, which is essentially just a remote storage that some plugins might use to share storage across different servers. For example, LuckPerms, there's an option to use MySQL, and if you use that, all of the servers that you use MySQL in you can make it so that they all look towards that same storage for any changes made to ranks or groups, and you can make it automatically change and update across server, which is pretty cool. And that's basically it. Oh yeah, console is pretty self-explanatory. It's the console for your server. It's like the main admin basically. Chat is just the chat for your server. Pretty self-explanatory. Players is almost like users. Basically users. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that is in Multicraft. There might be something that your server host might have added, but I can't really go across every single server host, so you might want to consult them for that or visit their site. But yeah, that's the default Multicraft, and I hope you enjoyed, and subscribe and like and all that, and thank you for watching.